I originally wasn't going to do anything more on this shower here, but thought I would talk a little bit while I'm doing some more. So what I'm doing right now is I'm getting ready to put the tile in around the shower control. It's got a square hole there, and I had a problem cutting that. I cut a round hole for the toilet flange over there, and I made a video on that. But this is different. I tried to cut this with the angle grinder and the diamond blade, and basically the first time I touched it with the angle grinder, the tile broke right in half. And then I figured, well, maybe I'm being a little bit too rough, so I tried it again, and it broke again. So I figured I'd use the tub saw, and I was having more luck with that until it broke again. And this is the tile here. So what I did was I glued it back together using polyurethane construction adhesive. I did this yesterday and had a chance to set overnight, and I dare you to find that crack. You'd have to look pretty close. And see, this is another thing that people would say, oh, well, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can, because I just did it. You can glue one of these tiles back together with a waterproof glue. That's not a problem. I've done it before, too. And it's stood up for years and years. So I'm getting ready to put this in, like I said. Where it is cracked here, I'm going to get extra mortar in there just in case something happens, although it never will. Okay, I guess you could say I'm doing this shower kind of the hard way, because I'm actually back buttering all of the tiles before I put them in. And I'm cutting them all on the tub saw, mainly because my regular tile cutter doesn't do a good enough job cutting them. These spacers here slip in there. I set these tiles above and I already did the ones below yesterday, and I just put pieces of tile in to hold these ones up with the spacers while this one here dried. So this goes in here and it doesn't look broken at all. Yeah, getting back to the comments on the shower construction itself here, a lot of people mentioned membrane and all that. You got to go back and watch the video where I installed the shower pan, and that's a big sheet of plastic on the bottom down there. Then after that, and I didn't film this because it was the dead of winter and I didn't want to get into it. I did the concrete base. I mixed up concrete and I added in the slope there down to the drain. You got the corners here. What I've been doing as I'm working my way up is I'm packing mortar into the corners just to fill them up. And then when I set the tiles in, I make sure there's mortar in the corner as well for the tile to sink into. So that's another kind of semi-seal, I guess you could say. A lot of people are saying there should be a membrane on the walls and on the floor before you put the tiles. You don't need that. Not for this type of shower, you don't need that. Especially when you're using something like epoxy grout. Because epoxy grout, once it goes in and it hits these tiles, it fills up these gaps in the tiles here, it sticks like crazy. That bond will not break. The only chance that it will break or crack is in the corners here. And what you do is you pack it full of the epoxy grout, you level it off nice and smooth. A few days later, before you use the shower, you caulk the corners. And this is a standard thing for all waterproof type things where you have a change in direction. You run a bead of clear silicone caulk in the corners here and where it meets the shower base on the floor, which is also packed with epoxy grout, and there will be no chance of it leaking. And I'm building this shower and this bathroom to last forever, or at least for my ever. Because it's expensive to do this. I've got, in this bathroom alone, I've got well over, $2,000 just in tiles and materials so far to get me to this point. And I'm not done yet, so it's expensive. And it's not about skipping steps that are important. If I thought that membrane that everybody talks about was important, I would use it, but I don't think it is, so I'm not going to use it. I need my spacers here. Because I have faith in what I've done here. And this is the way it's been done for a very long time here in North America. A while ago, this membrane idea came out, and it's been aggressively pushed by the manufacturers of that type of product, to the point where people are kind of brainwashed into thinking that it's the only way to do this, and that's simply not the case. Is it better to use that stuff? Probably it's better to use that stuff, but then again, it's probably better to build cars using metal that doesn't rust. But we don't do that, for the most part anyway, because cars are, I guess you could say, disposable to a degree. And so is this thing that I'm standing in here. This shower is going to last for the rest of my lifetime. I have no intention of changing it, but the next owner of the house might hate this and come in here with a sledgehammer and bust it all out, and it goes into a dumpster, and you know, you got the next best thing coming in. It might look completely ugly, it might look way better than this, but it's, you know, it's a taste thing, and that's kind of what you have to have in the back of your mind. You have to build not to be disposable, but you have to keep things, you have to be practical about things, is what I'm saying. Okay, see, this here is what I was talking about packing mortar into the corner. There is a bit of a gap up there that will be filled up by the mortar. And not only that, I'm heaping it up somewhat in there for the tile to press into as well. And there's going to be some guys out there saying right now that, you know, the know-it-all guys that are saying, oh, well, that'll never stop water. Well, yes, it will. But mainly what's going to stop the water is these tiles plus the epoxy grout. That's going to stop the water dead. Any water that reaches this corner here runs down. If it does penetrate the epoxy grout, which I don't think it ever will, actually there's caulking as well too. You have to get past the caulking, past the epoxy grout, it hits this mortar in here, and it gets kind of absorbed into it, and then it eventually dries out. Because what's behind here is basically an open wall. Any moisture that gets through here into this corner here and makes this mortar damp will dry out. Okay. Yeah, people ask me why I don't put more or make more videos for the home renovation channel. One thing is, I don't like to repeat or cover again what I've already done. You know, I've already done a few videos on doing ceramic tiles, and every single one of them, like the kitchen countertop video is another example. I don't know how many people said, well, don't you need cement board underneath those tiles on the countertop? Right after, basically, I said, I did this before 10 years ago in my old kitchen, and it worked out beautifully. I also said that the mortar is rated for use over plywood, exterior grade plywood. But still I got that question. Because it's like I said before, people basically are parroting what they've heard from other people. And the people that they're parroting may or may not have the best information. Cement board is useful for, I'd use it on the floor in the kitchen, mainly to build that up, if that had been the right height. Also to cover the pipes, the PEX pipes that heat the floor. I didn't want to get mortar down around that. First of all, it would take way too much mortar, okay, to get down around those things. Also, I have concerns about expansion and contraction of the PEX. And I know that they embed that in concrete well enough, but I was thinking that, you know, whatever chemicals might be in the mortar might have an effect on the PEX. Also, I didn't want it expanding and contracting and breaking apart that mortar. So I put that layer of 1/4 inch cement board out there expressly for that purpose. It wasn't for tile adhesion, because I had no doubt whatsoever that if I had to put plywood out there, I would have had no problem. The mortar I'm using sticks to the plywood without any issues. I was getting this next tile ready here. And I have my coffee cup up on the tank lid of the toilet, and I was back buttering the tile here on the toilet seat. And I guess the action of, you know, wiping on the mortar shook the coffee cup till it slid off the tank lid, bounced off of the back of the tile here, you can see the coffee, and splashed all over me. So this whole room has been cursed from the beginning, I think. So I've got no coffee. I have to mix up some more mortar. I'm going to probably end this one here. I want to say something about the mortar though. When I was doing the floor here, I was used that batch that I mixed up to lay the tile, got hard quickly. I found out since that mortar has an actual shelf life, at least the stuff that I bought, because the rest of it went the same way. And then the new bag that I bought to replace it, because I stopped using it because I wasn't sure how strong it was. It didn't have to be strong on the floor down here. And actually it really doesn't have to be very strong on the walls of the shower here, but it has to be strong on the floor in the bathroom, and I didn't want to take a chance. So I bought a new bag and that works fine. The mortar I was using first was about a year old, so if you have mortar sitting around for a year, throw it away. It's not going to be any good anymore. I got to get myself cleaned up. Okay, I'm kind of back. I didn't get more coffee because I really don't have time. So I did make some more mortar. And I didn't finish my thought on why I don't post more videos on here. Second reason is that there's so many know-it-alls out there, basically, that have done, you know, some of this work, and all of a sudden they're experts on it. And that's the thing, I don't claim to be an expert on any of this stuff. I do know what I'm doing though, for the most part, even though it looks, it doesn't look that way sometimes, but you know, you go with any tradesman and you'll see the same shit. But like I said in my kitchen countertop video, I worked with a lot of top quality tradesmen, and if they were standing here watching me do this, they'd be saying I'm doing a good job. Because it's exactly the way they would be doing it themselves. Probably a lot faster though. But like I said, you got so many people that are either, either they have a little bit of experience, they've done some of it before, or they are completely brainwashed by the companies, basically, that, so you make a television show, like Homes on Homes, for example, and he's probably one of the biggest offenders in recent history anyway, for pushing these newer products and basically saying that everything else is a pile of crap and that you shouldn't do it. And it's like I said, yeah, putting that membrane on probably a lot better, probably better. I shouldn't say a lot. But then again, like I said, so is building a car from stainless steel so it doesn't rust, or using gold pipes for your plumbing like Alf did in his spaceship. You know, if you're a reasonable person, you'll understand what I'm saying. There are limits to what you should be doing. I mean, this membrane system is all part of that thing, and the shower base is included in that, and I priced that, and that would have been an extra $1,000 for a shower this size, which I think is absurd. What's this one? Put up in here. Now, speaking of the guys I've worked with, that's all in commercial construction, and you never see any of that craziness in commercial construction, like this membrane that everybody's talking about. They basically, usually the walls are concrete block, or a lightweight block is what it is, and they go in and they mortar the tiles right onto that. They mortar right onto the concrete floor for the shower base. I've been in high schools, or worked in high schools where they've done the showers for the gymnasium. It's all the same way. Concrete floor, mortar, tiles, walls, concrete block, mortar, tiles, grouted up. Not even using epoxy grout either. It's regular sanded grout. And works there, why wouldn't it work here? I know why it wouldn't work here, because Mike Holmes says it won't work here. Mike Holmes. Mike Holmes said so. I actually had a guy say that in a video. So, Mike Holmes not even actually a carpenter. He was a handyman that managed to get a job on a set in Toronto as a carpenter. You see it listed in the credits at the end of a TV show or a movie. They have carpenter, carpenter, carpenter. These guys make a fantastic amount of money for what they do. It's crazy. I knew one guy that was, he was doing that, and he got kind of laid off because they ran out of work or whatever, or the production ended anyway. So he was dying to get back to it because he was like, it was killing him that he had to do some real work on a real job. So he wanted to get back to the movies, he said. I just remembered another example of a place that I saw a lot of tile work done, but I never saw them use any membrane, and that was in a Radisson hotel down at the airport. I think it was a Radisson. I'm not entirely sure, I can't remember the name. I think it was, I'll actually look it up and I'll put it in here on the screen to clarify, but they did it exactly the same way as here, but once again, like I said, they didn't use epoxy grout, they just used regular grout on tile backer. I think in that case it was cement board, but that cement board is no different from this stuff right here. This is the same basic thing. I just remember what it was. It wasn't Radisson, it was the Hilton Hotel. Anyway, 15 stories. I don't know how many suites in the place. Probably 10 per floor. I know there were a hell of a pile of doors. And I remember thinking when we got that job, we being me and my brother, I was saying to myself, this is what we got to be doing, Don. This is going to be great, man. Just one place with all these doors. I think there were something like 1,500 doors, and a lot of them were pretty easy. The suite doors were the hardest, and some of the utility room doors, but the rest, you know, connecting doors and bathroom doors, fairly standard stuff. But it was the tedium, floor to floor, same thing, over and over again. That's what wore me out on that one. So, yeah, so that, you know, that's the long and the short of it. This method of doing a shower is acceptable if you do a good job with it. If you're not comfortable with doing something like this, you have no confidence in your ability to do this properly, then by all means use that membrane, spend the extra 1,000 or whatever it is to buy yourself that peace of mind. In my case, I don't need it because I know that I can do this well and that it's not going to leak and I won't have a problem with it. So I'm going to keep that $1,000 and spend it on something that's more worthy of it, I think.